Lord above, grant me the confidence of a Zimbabwean who lives in South Africa and wants to turn South Africa into Zimbabwe. There's been an oversupply of Zimbabwean analysts who are trying to make South Africa into Zimbabwe, and we have a problem with that.
Yeah, so, if you really wanted to experience this, ladies and gentlemen, I challenge you, go to Twitter and just go check all the most racist, most radical, most dickheady responses that you can find. And lo and behold, there'll probably be a Zimbo. And that's the same Zimbo that doesn't really like what's happened in Zimbo, but he really wants a repeat of it in South Africa for reasons.
And there are two in particular we're going to talk about. Number one is called Mighty Jamie. His name is not Mighty Jamie, that's just a moniker. And Mighty Jamie loves to do two things: shit on white people, including the DA, and then talk about land justice. In fact, this tweet really shows that land justice is so important in South Africa. Basically, land justice equals expropriation without compensation. So Mighty Jamie follows me on Twitter. So Mighty, I've got a question for you. Land justice has already taken place in a certain part of Africa. I believe it's, where you come from, Zimbabwe. Why not fuck off there and experience it for yourself instead of coming here and wanting the same thing?
Yeah, this is the same individuals who go online and then bitch about apartheid. Except they come from Zimbo, mate. There was no apartheid in Zimbo. The guys come here after the end of apartheid, and then they basically want to moan about what apartheid did to this country. But you weren't subject to it, mate, so it actually has nothing to do with you. The Americans have a word for this. Isn't it called stolen valor?
I think the better term is useful idiot. Coined by Vladimir Lenin, of course. A useful idiot was the intellectual in New York City who spoke about how great the Bolsheviks were, whilst never actually experiencing Bolshevism in the first place. And I think this Stockholm Syndrome useful idiotry is quite applicable to these Zimbos in particular. Like, for example, Mighty Jamie is really upset about how the DA treats black people. As far as I know, I don't think the DA has ever killed a black person in their entire existence. But if you go a little bit north of the border in, say, Zimbabwe, where Jamie comes from, political violence has claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. There was a genocide against the Ndebele people who happen to be black as well. I don't see Mighty Jamie complaining about how black people are treated in Zimbabwe. Funny, isn't it?
No, and I also notice how they constantly have something to say against our president, Cyril Ramaphosa. But I never really see them do the same against Mugabe. I wonder why that is, mate. I mean, this is the same individual who obviously I have no doubt, he loved Robert Mugabe. He loved him so much, he chose not to live in that country. See how this works? I love Zimbabwe policies. I love what it did to my land. I love my president so much, I'm going to live somewhere else.
But it doesn't end there, of course. There's another idiot on the blog called Rutendo Matiyara, whatever. I'm French. I don't do African names. Fuck it. And this guy has the audacity to come to South Africa, create a business here, and then says the South African Reserve Bank is a vestige of apartheid racist policy and should be abolished. Mate, have you seen what the Zim Central Bank has done to your currency and to your country? You want to do the same shit here? Where's the shame? Where's the shame? Byron, why are we allowing these people airtime? Fuck off back to Zimbabwe and fix it yourself. Nuts.
Because South Africa has something they don't have in Zimbabwe called freedom of speech. I mean, we all saw how well that worked out at the last elections, right? They were like, vote someone who's not ZANU-PF, and then you went to prison. And that's why loads of them came here. And then they said, we really want to have regime change in Zimbabwe. So how are we going to do it is we're going to go onto X, to Twitter, we're going to moan, but we're not going to go to Zimbo to actually, vote, because that would require some effort. Instead, what we could do is just turn South Africa into a vassal state of Zim. And then we'll get change. No, we won't. This is dumb, man. And yes, you're 100% right. We do this all the time. We allow the Zimbos to come to South Africa and just do shit. And you know what we do about it? Nothing. Because we're not Zimbo. We're not there to blixen you every time you disagree with a policy. Have you noticed how that works?
Yeah, and this is not a video against all Zimbos. We know Zimbabweans, most of them are pretty cool people, but you got this weird clique intellectual side of certain Zimbabweans that really come here, shit on our country, and want to turn it into the shithole that they left in the first place. I mean, look at this. This guy calls a white South African a racist apartheid beneficiary. Mate, that guy is 82 years old. He's been here longer than you've been alive. And you have the audacity to come here, never experiencing apartheid in the first place, and shit on him for something he did not do.
So these guys come here, cause a little bit of social disharmony, and then basically just want to rape and pillage the country. Mate, I'm with Gaten on this, man. Like, why don't these guys fuck off and go home?
Especially the intellectual ones. And if you are the SABC or News24 or any of these platforms that host these people as if they have something useful to say about South Africa, stop doing that, please. Get proper South Africans to talk about South African subjects. Get people who know what they're talking about. And most importantly, get people that want to benefit South Africa, not these parasites who've left their homeland because it's shit and then want to shit in our lawn here and make sure it spreads all over the country. We won't tolerate that as a nation, and you shouldn't either.
No, but we do actually have some suggestions, ladies and gentlemen, on how you can actually combat this. So first, SABC, there's some easy tricks you could use. Every time you invite some moron on to actually discuss politics in this country, how about check his visa first? Just saying, like you could always just check the visa, the passport. If you don't have one, you probably don't want to allow him onto the show because he might be, I don't know, agent, provocateur. Maybe he's here illegally. And obviously, ladies and gentlemen, if you employ anybody, we also have some tips for you. Do you know Ben from Malawi, yeah, who you don't know where he lives and you don't really know if his name's actually Ben. When Ben goes and steals stuff from you and you go to report it from the police station and they say, right, who did it? And you go, Ben, but he's from Malawi. The police aren't going to find the guy. So you might want to actually start getting forms of ID for your domestic workers, for your farmhands, for your garden guy, any of the guys who you work with. You might just want to ask them for things like an ID. And if they can't provide you with an ID or they don't have a work visa, maybe you want to actually follow some of the government policy and report them so that they can get deported.
So yeah, basically, this is very much the same phenomenon as those foreign-funded NGOs that come here, sow discourse, and make South Africa a worse place to live. These are the same people. Let's call it the Zimbabwean CIA, sending agent saboteurs to South Africa, promoting racial divide, promoting policies that have destroyed Zimbabwe, and then we allow them to get away with it, and worse, we elevate them to positions of political analysts. No more.